Okay, sir. Hello, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today, we have scheduled a webinar on Image in Digital Area, which has been organized by Applied Sciences and Humanities Department of Parul Polytechnic Institute, Parul University. I, Vaishali Nathwani, would like to introduce today's guest speaker, Jeannie Willets. She is an certified image consultant by the Association of Image Consultants International, AICI, and a certified corporate etiquette consultant by the Protocol School of Palm Beach, Florida. She is the immediate past president of AICI Philippine chapter, a fine arts graduate from the University of St. Thomas, Manila, with a knack of style. She received her image training and education from John Robert Powers, Manila, and the International Image Institute, Toronto. After a decade of experience in image training and consultancy, she founded Flair Image Consultancy in 2013. She is a lead image consultant and curriculum director as well. Her image programs are well grounded on the aesthetic aspect of image and philosophical anthropology. She conducts specialized modules on color analysis and professional grooming and dressing. She has facilitated programs for Development Bank for the Philippines, Diamond Hotel Manila, Mercury Drug Corporation, Bostic Philippines, and Vista Land, to name a few. Before setting up Flair, she had extensive experience as a freelancer, visual artist, values resource speaker, and an image consultant. It's a privilege to welcome you here, madam, on this platform.
Hi, thank you for inviting me to your university to give this webinar on image in the digital era. So before anything, I would like to share my slides.
It's a pleasure to invite you, ma'am.
Okay, so pleasure is mine.
Yes. Perfectly fine.
So welcome to our webinar on image in the digital age. Why? Or in other words, era, however you want to term it. As I was introduced, I would just like to tell you a little bit more about myself. I am Ms. Jeannie Villegas from the Philippines. I'm very pleased to be speaking to you, there in India. And I don't know if we have other viewers from other parts of the world. And I would like to share with you whatever tips I could give in order to adapt professional image to the digital age or era. So I'm Jeannie Villegas. Actually, I have my training as a visual artist, but later on in life, I got involved in NGO work and values formation and women development. And I saw a career related to image. And that's why I became a certified image consultant by the Association of Image Consultants International and a certified corporate etiquette consultant by the Protocol School of Palm Beach. Here in my country, we also have a chapter of AICI, and I am the immediate past president. And in 2013, I founded Flair Image Consultancy to expand the services I offer individuals and groups in relation to image. So now that we are talking about image in the digital era, are you all ready to know why we have to adapt the image to the digital era? So I have here 3 talking points to share with you in this short webinar. The first is we have to learn first the ABCDs of image before we can adapt it to the digital era. And then we adapt it to the digital era. And I will give you some tips on how to go about this. And lastly, we will be talking about how to enhance online image and appearance, especially if we have to interact with each other, like in this present webinar, or you have online meetings and other events. So first, we start with the ABCDs of image. That means appearance, behavior, communication, and digital presence. So Image is about perception. We all agree, I suppose. But before we can be perceived by others, we have our own self-image or self-perception. Many times it doesn't match how we are perceived by others. And that is actually the role of an image consultant to help you bridge that self-perception with the public image you want to project about yourself. Because image is not just for show, it has to reflect our true self. That's why I always talk about integral development, because we just don't want to appear not to be better than who we really are. So we have to strive to be a better version of ourselves through the way we groom, the way we present ourselves to others, that's appearance, and then behavior, how we interact with them, and how we communicate also, especially in the professional arena. And lastly, because we are now in the digital era, how we are also promoting our image digitally. That's why digital presence is also part of the ABCDs of image. Now we start with appearance. Whether you like it or not, people size us up in 7 seconds and they already have an impression about, sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's unfair. What can an impression be? Oh, this person looks smart. Why do they say that? Because perhaps you are dressed professionally, you are groomed properly, but they can also say, oh, this person looks very unreliable. No? Why do they say that? Because perhaps we are not well kept, we are not well dressed for work. So it matters in the professional sphere. That's why we start with impeccable grooming, and we also have to improve our personal style. And that also pertains to choosing the right colors that bring out the best in our appearance. Okay, so that's A, appearance, and then behavior. We don't only have to look professional, we also have to behave professionally. Because, as they say, inner beauty is more important than physical beauty. It's true, because what will make a person have a better image and be more appealing to others, connect better with others, is the inner goodness a person possesses. And we can all actually bring out the best in us if we be as human as possible, because we all share a common human condition and dignity that demands respect also from others as we respect them. That's why we don't just try to do the good in the abstract. We try to do it in the concrete. We have principles in life that we believe in, which we call values. Well, if you believe in family, if you believe in integrity, if you believe in hard work, then we have to show it also in good habits that make us live according to those principles. For example, if we believe in the ideals of integrity, then we should try to be honest at all moments. And that's how we develop the virtue of honesty. And then we also talk about civility and etiquette, because we have to show the good in the concrete. How do we do that? By subscribing to international standards of etiquette and civility. Like we talk about international business protocol, wherever in whatever part of the world, we know it's always part of good manners to, if we are talking about the digital age, to acknowledge emails. And it's also part of good manners, if we are interacting with people in person, to greet, to say thank you when someone does us a favor. So we have to be very mindful of how we show that respect to others through proper etiquette. So etiquette pertains to standard norms of behavior, which make social interaction pleasant and cordial. It is not just for show, for formal events, we try to be as courteous as possible, but how are we in our day-to-day interaction? How are we, like you in the university, how are you as you interact with your colleagues and the students? Because the principles behind etiquette are respect, consideration, and honesty. So I'm quoting from the etiquette expert, Emily Post. So no matter how times evolve, such as now, we are in the height of the pandemic and the digital age, the norms have changed with regard to interacting socially and professionally with others, but the principles are here to stay because the human condition is still the same all the time. And we deserve respect, consideration, And we also offer that to the others, respect and consideration. And of course, always with honesty. That's part of the integrity of a person. And then we go now to the C of image communication, which entails verbal proficiency, because we have to be able to express our thoughts in a coherent way. Many miscommunications happen because of the problem, no, of not being able to verbalize, no, everything, no, that we have in our mind. And then, of course, nonverbal communication can speak louder than words. And we're talking about facial expression, body language, and gestures. And part of that, of course, would be visual voice. You don't only have to be look good, be good. We also have to know how to interact well with others through communication. So visual voice would be good decorum, good posture, because when we have good posture, when we're sitting or when we're standing, when we're walking, then we can communicate that professional image that we would like to project. And then part of the tips I can give for nonverbal communication would be eye contact. And of course, because if someone doesn't have good eye contact, like now that we are doing a webinar, the eye contact is with the camera. But if you're doing something in person, then of course, it is something more physical. Because if we don't have good eye contact, that means that we are maybe hiding something or we lack confidence. But if we have good eye contact, that means we are sincere, that we are open. And then the smile. Now, the smile is part of the welcoming image that we want to project, and it has to be natural. That means I can give you a tip. You say A or E when you smile, because that your smile becomes more natural that way. Instead of saying, because if we just say something like cheese, it is kind of artificial. But if we say A or E, then the smile becomes more natural. And lastly is the posture. So we mentioned it in the previous slide. So it matters also when we are communicating with others. So one tip is the forward movement. If you are talking to someone, whether physically or virtually, if you lean in slightly, that shows more interest in the person you are talking to. Right. So after having run you through the A, B, C's of image, now we go to the D, which is digital presence. And this pertains to our online engagement and social media presence, because whatever we post or share in the digital space will reflect our true self. That's why authenticity is very much important, is something we have to adhere to in the digital era, because there's a lot of manipulation in the digital space. And whatever we post or share should reflect our true self. And that is part of how we are presenting our digital or professional image to others. Okay, so having run you through the ABCDs of image, at the end of the day, I want to show you the impact of image. The biggest part of the pie is always the visual, and the second is the vocal, and the last is the verbal. The visual pertains to the physiology, which is 55%. So that is your physical appearance, the way you're groomed, the way you're dressed, and also your nonverbal language. Your body language is part of the visual, whatever seen by the eyes. The vocal would be the tone of your voice, how you project, how you sound professional. That's part of the vocal. And the third, and sad to say, the smallest part of the pie is the verbal, but it's sometimes the most important, because it's really the message you want to communicate with others. So if you really want to make an impact with what you say, then you really have to work hard on your on your visual and your vocal to impact with the verbal. All right, so are you now convinced that image matters when we are presenting ourselves, whether in person or virtually? So that is the impact of image that we can produce. Okay, so having run you through the ABCDs of image, now we talk about how we adapt image to the digital era. Okay, so style or image in the digital era. So what are some characteristics? There is that impact through image and appearance, right? Because whether you like it or not, it's not only when we are physically present, we make an impact with our image, but also when we are virtually present. There are no hard and fast rules in the digital age when it comes to image and style. And at the end of the day, what we are celebrating is our individuality. And what are some key social trends interrupting the ideas of image? So let me enumerate some of them to you. Social media and technology. I guess by now we're convinced about this. Inclusivity and diversity, sustainability, community, intention, the changing nature of work. Okay, let me run you through some of these points about the key social trends interrupting the ideas of image. Let's start with social media and technology. So we have to ask ourselves, are we dressing or presenting ourselves for virtual life and work? Because there's a difference when we are doing an in-person meeting or class. Because at least if you are dressing for virtual life, at least waist up, you are very presentable. If you are working from home, let's say. And we know, especially if we are talking about social media, when whatever we post or share is a way of telling a story about our life and our profession. That's why we should be coherent with whatever we post is a reflection of what we do and what we believe in. That's why authenticity is key, because there's a lot of fake news out there and we don't want to add to that, right? So let's examine ourselves if we are as authentic as possible, because of course, sometimes we want to blow up our image a little, but make sure that whatever we share with others is true, and that will assure that there is authenticity there. And then now we have a lot of enhancing apps, whether they be beauty apps, whether they be voice apps, that can manipulate our image. Well, why not if it is for the better, but we can still combine this with the intention of being as authentic as possible, not to go overboard. Of course, like even in a presentation, you try to enhance the photos and all. So too, I guess, with some of your social media videos or posts. And of course, part of that would be the help of computer-generated images. So that is how our image or whatever we project in social media could be improved with the help of technology. And then another concept would be diversity and inclusion, right? So who is considered beautiful nowadays? Who is considered smart nowadays, right? So we break away from those traditional concepts, because everyone is good, everyone is beautiful in his or her own way. We appreciate diversity, and that's why that is a new trend now in the digital era when it comes to diversity and inclusion. So we're not just talking here about LGBT rights. We're talking about diversity and inclusion of everyone, but also for women in the corporate world or university. So that is how wonderful this current age is. There is an opportunity for everyone to advance. And then another point would be sustainability and the environment. So we impact through clothes. Impact of clothing in the environment matters. Do you know that after the oil industry, the fashion industry is the #1 pollutant in the world? So we should be more responsible consumers of fashion. And how's that? So we have to invest on clothes that can last longer, that are not just use and throw. Let's avoid that use and throw mentality. Let's purchase clothes that are good investments that can last long, even if maybe a lifetime, especially if we want to invest, say in a good suit or in a good bag. And then virtual fashion is also an in thing. We know we can manipulate our clothing online, changing the color or the style with some apps. And there are also some sites that offer virtual fashion. And of course, another way to solve this problem of sustainability environment is rental or consignment. Instead of always getting a new outfit for an occasion, I guess like here in the Philippines, in India, you have the possibility also of rental, you know, and consign the space, let's say for special occasions. And then of course, intention. Why do we dress? You know, what is our purpose? What are our goals for the day? What are our activities? You know? So instead of being boxed up, you know, by certain dress codes, you know, we in the new normal or new future, what is more important is we dress for confidence. We have to think whether we are dressing up for virtual or real life. So we assess what is the occasion we're going to. Are we attending a business meeting? Are we going to a casual event? So that's why we should be also flexible with our choice of clothes, because at the end of the day, we also celebrate personal style and our individuality, as we said earlier. So we dress with that intention without being too, you know, restricted by dress codes. Because in a day, we can go to different kinds of occasions and dress according to those different occasions. So let's say if you're a lady like myself, a basic dress, a basic black dress can take you from day to night. It's a dress you can wear to work or university with, let's say, with a blazer. It looks professional. It's the same dress you can wear at night if you have an invitation to a cocktail event. You can wear it as is or with a scarf, and you change the look totally. So it's also a matter of being practical with our choices of clothes so that they can take us to many events and places without being too restricted by dress codes. And of course, we also have to consider the changing nature of work. Well, even before the pandemic, because of the digital era, it has been already possible to work from home, to join virtual events and meetings, but it was heightened in this time of the pandemic. So working from home is getting to be more common. And of course, maybe like here, you also have co-working spaces. Instead of the traditional office, people can do their jobs, especially entrepreneurs, in co-working spaces. And of course, we can work anywhere, even in the beach, as long as we have our gadget with us, our computer, our laptop. We can join virtual meetings anytime, no? And that is the flexibility that we experience now in the digital era. Okay, so, and of course, community. We also have the support of our different organizations and groups as we transition to the digital era. Now, I want to give you some tips. We go now to the last part of our presentation. I would like to give you some tips on how to enhance your online image and appearance. Well, it is always a given to dress and groom appropriately for work, especially if you are also having an online meeting, work-related meeting. And what is a tip I can give you? Wear a business attire in solid colors. So it can be a suit, it can be a business shirt if you're a guy, and with a necktie as the accent. If you're a lady, then you can wear also a dress in a solid color or with a suit. What is important is to brighten the face, well, with the right accessories. Like if you're a lady, you can wear some earrings, or you can have a necklace to brighten the face. And take note of the ruler rule. From the top of your head down 12 inches, you should have impeccable grooming. If you're a gentleman, then avoid any unsightly facial hair. So if you're a woman, then have the appropriate makeup for work. So if you do that when you go out to the university, so too when you have an online engagement. Optimize your lighting and video framing. Like in my case, I'm using a ring light because without one, then this video will be very dark. Show video and mute when not presenting because we have to simulate an actual meeting. That's why it's part also of etiquette to turn on the video if you are intervening in a meeting or a presentation so that people see you as they see you in a physical meeting. Come prepared and avoid interruptions because that's also part of business etiquette, right? We don't interrupt when it's not our time to talk. We let others finish what they're saying before adding our ideas. So the same thing holds when we are engaging virtually. And be very positive with our comments because we can always load our ideas and make them more appealing to others by presenting them in a very positive way. And that way, it will be a win-win event for us or meeting for us. Okay, so with all those tips, I would like to empower you so that you be inspired to reinvent your image in the digital era. I hope you have been empowered rather with those tips, having in mind the ABCDs of image and also learning how to adapt image to the digital age. And lastly, those short tips on how to boost your online image when you have meetings online, meetings or presentations online. So with that, I end my presentation. You may like and follow us in social media. We are Flair Image Consultancy. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to Parol University. Perhaps at this point, the host can take over.
Yes, yes, 1 minute.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am,
Thank you.
for this beautiful presentation. Um, there are 1 or 2 questions, ma'am.
Yes.
Sometimes it happens that when we go out of state or out of country, right? So, according to you, what will be advisable to wear the outfit of that country or state or the country or state to which we belong to?
Sorry, it was a bit choppy. Could you please repeat your
Yes,
question?
my question is, ma'am, sometimes we go for presentation or some conference in another state or another country, right?
Yes.
Yes. So what will be your advice? It will be advisable to wear our own tradition clothes or the people who wear in that state or country?
Oh, actually, it all depends. Also, of course, we come from different cultures. If you are a guest speaker, I guess it will be very acceptable to wear your traditional clothes. If it's an international conference, when you're a participant, we can also wear Western clothes because that's one way of blending with others in the international conference. But if you are comfortable wearing your traditional attire, go ahead. there's no problem.
Okay. According to you, on social media, madam profile, which image we should put on?
Sorry, could you please repeat the question?
Yes, in social media
Yes.
platforms like Facebook and Insta, Twitter, right? So, according to your advice, which image of ourselves should be good to put on?
Which image of ourselves would be
Yes,
good to put on?
yeah,
As we should be as authentic as possible with whatever we share about our professional life and our personal life, especially if it is in, for example, personal life, if you are sharing in Facebook or Instagram, especially for your friends, because whatever we post there that is negative or that is disrespectful will affect our professional image, our personal and professional image.
okay. Um, what factors, according to you, what factors affect the image? What are the factors which affect or which you helps to say that from the image that yes, the kind of the person is this and that?
What titles are you referring to?
If there is an image in front of
Yes.
you, right? If we are meeting for the first time, if we are meeting someone at the first time, so what can we judge from his first appearance or outlook? How can we say that this person is wearing this clothes and he is a typical this kind of person?
Well, we cannot control your perception of a person. That's why what we can do is improve how we present ourselves to others in order to be better perceived by them. At least perceive the way we think we would like to be perceived. If, for example, in your case, if you are in the university, you would like to be perceived as a prestigious academician, then that is also how you can project yourself with the way you groom, with the way you interact also with others. Because as we said, image is not just the physical appearance, but also the way we interact with others matter a lot because they can break or make our image.
If we meet someone, ma'am, at the first time, right? If we meet someone at our first meeting, should be very friendly with him or her, or we should go smoothly, right? Step by step, communicate with the
Yes,
person
yeah.
whom we are meeting for the first time.
Yes, that is part also of international etiquette. So if we meet someone for the first time, we should be as professional as possible. In fact, now that we are still in the pandemic, the traditional way of meeting people would be at least internationally accepted would be the handshake, no? But since we avoid contact,
Yes.
then there. I mean, it's not expected nowadays, no. But at least we can still do the elbow bump. So those are alternatives to the handshake or the toe tap. I don't know if you've heard of those. Yeah, alternatives. We can bow like the Japanese. So
Yes.
there are ways of showing that respect to others. But even before the pandemic, the traditional distance to respect in the professional sphere would be that we should be at least 2 feet away from a person that we are talking to in the professional arena. Because if we're too close too soon, then we can give the wrong signals to that person.
Yes, exactly. So I think we should be 2 feet away and communicate with distance, right?
Yes, yes, yes. That is part of international protocol.
Yes, that's true.
In
Because
fact, now that
uh,
we're in the pandemic, the distance is even wider, isn't it? Like a meter or more.
yeah, But in some countries like US and in the first meeting only, sometimes they give a hug to each other, or they feel comfortable in that way, right?
Yes, yes. But I guess in the business arena, maybe for people who know each other, that is acceptable. But in the business arena, it is not called for.
Yeah. Yes, according to me also, it's not fruitful, even if there is a same gender personality, then also. Because
Yeah,
sometimes we see in our university, this is international students or faculties come, then we see sometimes that way.
that's
Yeah,
right. That's right.
yeah. So, if we are in a meeting, ma'am, and sometimes it happens that two persons are communicating very slowly, right, in their ears, and we are distracted with that thing, then how we should mold that thing, or tell to that person that this is the wrong way that you are communicating in the meeting.
Okay, so if I would like just to summarize if I got it right. Is the concern there that two persons are communicating very slowly? Did I get it right?
Yeah.
S-
Mhm.
What do you mean by communicating very slowly, talking slowly?
Yes. Talking slowly. Uh, as for example, we are giving some presentation, and the two persons are communicating with each other. That is talking in their way only, or in their mood, and they are not paying attention.
They're not paying
Yeah.
attention. Is this in a class? Or are you talking about the scenario of a classroom setup
No,
or
even
more
in a
for
classroom, madam, even in the
yes,
classroom, or
yes.
even during some presentation also, and we feel somewhat not comfortable at that point of time. So how we can communicate with that person that the thing you are doing is not the right way?
Okay. So if you are the speaker, uh, I know it's very annoying. It's very
Yes,
annoying.
exactly.
Sometimes you cannot control the audience, but if you're a professor and it happens in your class, then you can remind them, to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is a meeting, conference, you cannot control the behavior of people. Although the moderator could occasionally remind the people to avoid private conversations and pay attention to the speaker. Or if they have questions, they can ask directly the speaker or the moderator. They can be reminded that way. But we cannot reprimand the noisy people right there and then because it's also gonna be rude to do so. Unless you are the teacher, you are the professor, and it's your class, then you can demand that they really pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So we should tell them in a very smooth and polite way, right?
Yes. To remind them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, is there any role, madam, of a image consultant in research also, in research field also?
Uh, could you please repeat your question? It became
Is
choppy.
there any role of the image
The image.
consultant in a research field also?
Is there any role of the image consultant in the research field?
Yeah. Yes.
Ah, um, you mean an image consultant who's doing research?
Yeah.
Yes. Uh, we we do research. If you mean that we also research on advancements in image and technology, is that what you mean? But on the other hand, if your question is more academic, image consultancy is not yet a college or a university course in many countries. But in Mexico and in some South American countries, they already offer it as a college, as a university degree. Okay. But in my case, since I belong to a professional Association of Image Consultants International, that is the only certifying body for image consultants in the world. So if we want more prestige and credibility, image consultants do research, yes, and prepare their portfolio in order to become a certified image consultant.
Okay. If we are in an interview, right, ma'am? And if we are in an interview, right? For example, in campus interview, if the student is sitting or we are sitting, then what is the right way of eye contact with the expert? Should
Okay.
we have one-to-one eye contact, or we should uh, see only the one expert, or we should what we can say that see all the experts individually? What is the right way to communicate with the eye, with the expert?
All right. So if you are interviewing a student in campus, of course, yeah, eye contact, normally, yes, same level. That means you can both stand up, be standing up or sitting down. Yes. And then the other point there is it's not also possible to maintain eye contact for a very long period of time. You know that the eyes get strained and yeah, tends to move. So what you can do to give the impression that you are still listening and all ears is you can just look slightly upwards, like towards the forehead, slightly above the eyebrows, you know, here in the middle. And it can give the impression to the person you're talking to that you are still maintaining eye contact. That is what we call the professional gaze.
Yes, exactly. Because sometimes it happens that if we continuously keep in eye contact with one expert, then they might feel uncomfortable or anything else.
Yes, that's right.
So I think we should
Can look
communicate.
slightly upwards.
Yes, yes, exactly. And if we come in a room, right, asking the permission, they give the permission, interviewer gives the permission to enter the room, right, for the interview.
Yes.
So should we directly sit on the chair or wait for the what we can say, wait for the expert to tell that yes, you can sit or else? Sometimes it happens that students directly come inside the room and sit on the chair on the table, right?
Yeah.
So what is the right way? Should we wait for the person or the expert to tell?
Yes. I think the right way is also for the student to wait to be told. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's more proper, especially if that's also what you expect.
Yes. And in a chair, on a
Yes.
chair.
That's right. On the chair.
Yes. What is the right posture to sit on a chair during interview, ma'am?
Right posture, then you keep your back straight, you do not be slouching. There is
Okay.
a tip, no? Like you can align your back to your ears. Put your middle finger at the back of your earlobe. And then your thumb here at your collarbone. And then your back will stretch automatically. You can try that.
Okay. And sometimes it happens that the interviewer or the expert asks any question and we are not able to answer that thing, right? Then what is the best positive way to reply on that situation?
That they're not able to answer the equation.
Yes, yes. Then what is a positive way to express during that situation?
Oh, what do you mean, ma'am? Because the what is a normal tendency to scold them or to tell them that they have to study more?
Yes.
What we have to tell them you have to prepare for things
That is the
Exam.
yes, that is the as per expert, right? Then if we are the student, right, and we don't know the answer, then what the student should reply on that thing?
Oh, are you expecting the student to say, sorry, I don't know the answer?
So is it
Instead of
yeah
instead of guessing,
giving the wrong answers and not guessing right? Then
sometimes, but isn't it we have all been students? Sometimes when we guess, we get it right.
yeah, but sometimes we move to the another field or another point also. We move towards
Yes.
another topic after guessing.
Yes, yes. So I guess, ma'am, it depends. But of course, if your point is to make the student realize that he or she should study, then just say it nicely that they have to prepare better for the exam next time.
Yes,
Not to pretend that they know the answer. If it's, they're just going to be guessing and make a mistake.
yes, exactly. So I think we should always approach in a positive way, whether we are an expert or a student, right? We should not neglect any or say in a bad way, communicate in a bad way with anyone.
That's right. That's part of that refinement in etiquette. Yes.
Yes,
Whether you are talking to your superiors or you're talking to your colleagues or your students, then we should be as respectful as possible. Because sometimes older people or, yes, authority, those in authority think that they're the only ones who should be respected. But we also have to respect the students and the subordinates because it's something mutual.
okay. So I think we should end here the session, ma'am. It was very nice listening to you and communicating with you today. And surely this session will help our students as well as faculty in their future life, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining with us today and
Yes,
giving
I
us
hope
your
so.
valuable time.
Yes,
Yes.
my
And
pleasure.
I would also like to thank the head of our department, Mr. Hemal Patel, sir, the HO of our institute, Dr. Jatin Vaidya, sir, and the president of our university, Dr. Devanshu Patel, sir, for motivating and conducting such webinars. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining with us today.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Bye. See
Thank you also. So thank you very much, everyone, for inviting me to give this webinar.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.